Morning, everybody. This is Drew. How you guys doing? Happy Monday to you. Hope you're having a good day. Good start to the week. So today we're talking about Mindset Monday again. So this is, I think this is a third or fourth one we've done so far. So I appreciate you guys joining me and hanging out with me every Monday. Like I said before, I am a productivity coach, which basically is a business coach. And one of the things I talk to my agents about a lot is not necessarily the skills and not how to do the job, but the mental things that we have to go through, which is the mindset. So I thought what we do is every week talk about a different mindset topic. It affects family, it affects business, it affects your wealth, it affects your health, right? So, hey, good morning, Sandy, Drew. How you guys doing? Good morning. So we're just going to talk about, mindset things that I think affect us every single day. So today we're going to talk about setting standards, um, and what's our mindset around standards itself. So I wanted to kind of break down standards into a few different. Good morning, Hope. How are you? Um, I wanted to break down standards into a few different categories. First thing I want to talk about is your standards, or even my standards with myself and my family. Do we have a standard for ourselves as far as what our physical fitness goals are, whether it's weight or a certain size pant you want to get into? That's my personal thing. Do we have standards set for ourselves? So many times I see in my own life or in my clients is unfortunately we put ourselves second, third, or fourth if you have children or if you have spouses. So are we setting the standard for ourselves to make sure that we're following that, and that's that carrot that's dangled at the end of the string, just saying, hey, what are you doing to better yourself? So I think that's one of the things that I know from a mindset standpoint that I struggle with is that I have to make sure I have a standard for myself, physically on what I eat, physically on maybe going to the gym consistently. So I want you guys to think about mindset around that. The second thing I always want to talk about is obviously mindset around your business or money, right? So what is the standard for your business? And this is where it gets a little interesting because I think there is a fear or a mindset around that. So when someone is not following the standard that you set for your business, do you speak up? There's a very high percentage of people that don't speak up for their standard. They just kind of go with the flow. And then there's all those of us, my opinion, me included, that we do stick up for our standard, and we can be perceived as a jerk or a bitch or an asshole, right? So, and I think it's interesting that we have a mindset that when someone interrupts or we have a business objective and someone doesn't follow the standard correctly, whether it's your client, whether it's an employee, whether it's part of your staff, and you don't say something, so you will let that standard pass. I mean, think about it. Like if we went into, let's say, the Ritz Carlton, and we were checking into the hotel, and the front desk person was rude and not grateful and just had a horrible experience. Do you think his boss would say something to him? I think he would, because the Ritz Carlton is known to have a standard of service, right? And so I used to work for Nordstrom before I got into real estate 12 years ago, and they had a Nordstrom standard. The 5 years that I was there, that I trained in my sales associates, we set a standard, and you followed that standard. If you didn't follow that standard, then you just weren't employed here. And it wasn't we're better than you, you're better than us. It wasn't hard feelings. It was just an expectation of what we are going to do in the time in which you work here. So I guess my question to you guys to kind of kick this off is, why do we not set standards, and why do we not hold to those standards? I do think sometimes it's fear, in my opinion. A lot of times I do think it's because you don't want to look like the jerk. But who's suffering at the end of it? If you're not following a standard and if you're not holding to that standard, what suffers? In my opinion, your mindset suffers because you're starting to just deplete yourself. You're just starting to actually diminish the quality of your own life or your wealth or your customer experience. And the second thing is you're now teaching people how to treat you differently. I talk about this a lot. Unfortunately, a lot of my agent clients hear this a lot. We teach people how to treat us. So if we have someone that disrespects us, and that's not a standard that we want to enjoy. I mean, I've seen this in relationships that I've been in the past. They've talked to me a certain way, and I just took it. Well, there's nothing wrong with saying, I just don't think that's the right way to say that to me, right? Because if we don't do that, then what happens over time is that person, whether they know it or not, is going to treat you in a negative way, and then you become angry at them. Well, you're allowing them to you're teaching them to treat you bad, right? So make sure in my opinion, when you go through the mindset of standards, make sure you know what your standards are. You set them so you actually declare them so everybody knows what the standard is, and then you hold to that standard. Those three things are important, right? So it's really important, I think, as we go through this, to shift into a more positive mindset and to shift into standards. Standards sometimes can be seen as a negative thing, and I honestly just don't think they are. One thing also, side note, I want to talk about, because I'm a coach, especially a business coach, is I always talk about goals, right? So if you've been to any business training class, really, even in fitness, they're like, what is your goal weight, right? Or what is your goal to make income for this year? And maybe this is shocking for you to hear, but I don't really believe in goals. Now, I set goals, and I teach my agents to set goals, but there's a difference between a goal and a standard, right? So a goal, let's just say, my goal is to sell, since I coach real estate agents, let me go down that path. My goal is to sell 5 houses this month. Well, maybe in the past 3 or 4 months, I've sold 2 homes consistently. That's the standard, what I've done so far. That's the floor. I have actually physically sold 2, and that's a standard. I can do that almost blindfolded. The goal is obviously much higher. That's the 5 that what we're talking about. And sometimes in some personalities, I find is that when the goal is set so high, so 5, you quit before you even get started, or you feel like you're so far behind that you can't catch up. I mean, does anybody feel that? Does anybody believe that when they set a goal too high, that there's a lot of times the mindset is I'm just gonna give up. So my opinion, and this is what I kind of preach, unfortunately, or fortunately to my agents, is what is your standard? If your standard is 2 appointments every week, you're going to come hell or high water, you're going to hit those 2 appointments because that's your standard. So let me give you a different kind of angle on that. So let's just say you're going to go to the gym, right? And you are running on the treadmill and you hit 8-minute mile. You're like, man, this is a great day. You now have hit a standard that you know your body can handle, your mental capacity can handle. You're hitting 8-minute mile. So when you go back to the gym tomorrow, do you think it's correct or appropriate for you to now do a 10-minute mile? I hope the answer is no, because you've set the standard that you can achieve an 8-minute mile. So don't slide backwards. We've got to maintain that. It doesn't mean you have to overnight go to a 5-minute mile. We have to maintain the standard. And again, I think when we look at the word standard, we have sometimes a negative connotation because we don't want to be judged by others. We don't want to rock the boat or become a jerk. At least this is again, my limiting beliefs. And that's why I'm sharing this with you, is we've got to make sure we raise our own standards. There's no reason why we shouldn't expect to perform better so we can have a more abundance for our family. We can have more free time with our family. We can buy the things we need to buy. We can give to the charities we want to give to. And if we don't raise our standards, we live in a level of mediocrity. We live in lack of customer service if you're talking about business. I have a huge passion behind standards because every day my job is to keep raising those standards. And I hope that's kind of something that you focus on as well. So one other thing I did a little bit of research on is I was thinking about some famous people that possibly have high standards. So I don't know if you guys want to jump in here. Name some people. Hey, Chuck, good morning. How are you, sir? Hey, Chad, long time no see. How are you? if you guys could, who do you, in your head, who pops in your head from a famous standpoint, from an athlete to a celebrity that you think has a high standard? Anybody? Pop question in. Anything? So I'll let you guys chime in. A couple in my head popped in, so I wanted to just share. Steve Jobs, right? Everybody knows Steve Jobs, Apple guy. Unfortunately, he's passed away. Do you think he had high standards for his product? I think he did, right? Do you think he had high expectations of his team? Oprah, absolutely. Hey, Jessica, how are you? Are you coming home soon? Um, yeah, the second one that I had was definitely Oprah. So, do you think there's moments where the people around them maybe thought negative of them? Maybe they thought, "Wow, she's having a bad day," or "Wow, she really expects a lot from us," right? Or with Steve Jobs, I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the movie documentary about him. He kind of was perceived as a jerk. The mindset on the flip side is that he created a product that was revolutionized, that we all have, that we all use today. In fact, they just came out with a new one. It's $1,000, and there's people lined up to buy the product. So he created such high standards and such high demand for those standards, that makes a difference. Yeah, Sandy, Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams in our office, he has high standards, and then he says things on the stage that sometimes I'm like, wow, that was bold. That was kind of intense, right? But he has such high standards, so I agree with that. Definitely, Gary Keller. So I think when you think about your business, or when you think about your family, or when you think about your personal standards for yourself, don't apologize to have high standards. Don't feel embarrassed or feel like you need to be just one of the other sheep following the herd, because those that rise to higher standards have higher level of success. They have greater wealth. They have greater abundance in their family. They also have greater health, because they don't settle for that mediocrity and kind of in the middle. And so I kind of want you to think about that. So I think one of the things that I was looking at was the actual definition. So I'm going to read from this piece of paper of what the standard is, what actually it means. So it's a noun. It's a level of quality or attainment, or similar definition, same a noun, an idea or a thing used to measure, normal, or to model. To measure a model. So if you did something consistently, which in my opinion is a standard, and then other people could see that, you become a mirror to that. So if your standard of your health is I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever that is, there's a likelihood that the environment around you, the people that are in your life, we're going to mirror that, because they see that you're successful at that task, and they see that you're doing it consistently. So how cool would it be to have a world filled with people that have such high standards for themselves that they mirror and match that, right? Because we grow into the conversations around it. We grow to the environment that we're exposed to. So my challenge definitely is to create high standards for yourself in all levels of your life, and don't apologize for that, because it's going to create a ripple effect. It's going to create an abundance of opportunity for everybody, because they're like, wow, she kills it. She has high standards, or he is really doing that at a high level, and it's because he has a standard of what he's doing in his life, right? So I think that's something that from a mindset we should focus on. So it's pretty cool. Alrighty, so I wanted to end, because we're about 15 minutes in, is I always like to end with a mindset quote. But before I do that, I want you to think about joining me every Monday. We're going to do Mindset Mondays until I run out of topics. It's every Monday at 8 a.m. I really feel like the conversations we're having after we do these Facebook Lives, I get a lot of text messages and emails and phone calls. I really feel like it's stirring up our brain. And like the very first Facebook Live that I did, we're really trying to focus on creating a mindset of growth. That's what we're trying to focus on, because right now, a lot of us, and that's selfishly, that's why I do these Mindset Mondays, is I have a fixed mindset on some topics. And the more I explore what my mind does and what I'm exposed to, I have more of that growth mindset. So I hope it's helping. I hope that it's enriching your week and get you started. So like I said, I'm going to end with this. mindset quote, and this is from Michael Jordan, which I think is, in my opinion, a very successful athlete. I'm not a sports guy, but I know that he had a lot of things that could have held him back, a lot of things that in his personal life that he could have, honestly, he didn't even make his basketball team in high school, right? So here's the quote. You have competition every day because you set such high standards for yourself that you have to go out every day and live up to that. Let me read it a second time. You have competition every day because you set such high standards for yourself that you have to go out every day and live up to that. So, do you have high standards? Do you compete with yourself every day? I know that you do, and I want you to do it even more, and I want you to be more consistent with it. What is Sandy says, high standards shouldn't be confused with exclusivity. Absolutely. Absolutely it should not be. So I agree with that 100% because we've got to really realize that the more broad we can look at that, the better. So thanks for joining me to kick off Mindset Monday. If you need anything, please private message me or call me or text me. My email is coachingwithdrew@gmail.com. And I will see you next Monday and have a great week. Thanks, guys.